Welcome back to another episode of Y2K Sports Talk. Today we're going to be going over, as always, our biggest winners and losers this time of week 5, as well as previewing the Thursday night game, the Giants and Eagles. So let's get started.
So to start off with my biggest winners, Dak Prescott, just to start it off. I mean, it is the Jets, but how he just continued to look good with so many injuries. 4 out of 5 of his starting linemen were out. He's had CD out. He had Trevontae Turpin out. All he had was Pickens, who was also getting, shadowed by Sauce all game, which he did have his 2 great plays on him. But it opened up the passing game to people like Ferguson more, which looked good. He then gives it to Flanoy, who is a 6th-round pick last year, who I've been high on. So it's good to see him do that. But he's doing so much with less than he started the year out with. So the defense looked a little better, but it is the Jets, so they're an honorable mention. But Dak Prescott is for sure a winner here for me. Another one is the Jaguars. I mean, that game was good. Trevor Lawrence, the interception that did count shouldn't have. That looked like a PI or at least like illegal. Something they should have been a flag, but besides that, Trevor Lawrence clutched up when needed to be, even on when he stumbled and fell. I mean, that was like one of the craziest touchdowns I've seen, one of the funnier ones. But then, when it came down to it, that pass to the sideline to Brian Thomas Jr. was just a perfect pass, one of his best passes he's thrown in a while. You had the safety coming down while the corners behind him. There was a whole lot going on, and he needed to make that play. So them coming up in clutch, the defense is the real deal. They beat the Chiefs, and they're sitting at 4-1, and they could potentially do better and go on and do something in the playoffs. This is one of those years, like 2017. Everyone knows the graphic when it showed, Bortles. There was Brady on there, but then there was Case Keenum and Nick Foles. Like, it's one of those years. I can feel it. People are talking about it. Another
Agreed.
one is the Broncos. That defense might be the best defense, as at least up there with the rest of them. Um, their offense is clicking a bit more. It's starting to get better and better every week. So once that starts getting more comfortable, or maybe even if they trade for another receiver, which I think is the missing piece they need, they'll be even better. But just to go in there and beat the undefeated Eagles, finally somebody, basically acting on the Eagles' faults and their penalties. And, the Eagles, I think the Eagles, they were up by 14 in the fourth quarter, and the Broncos, they
Yep.
held their own and they did what they had to do and they got the win. So that's huge for them. And it shows that they can compete with anybody, and they could also go and compete for a Super Bowl. My last winner I have is the 49ers. I mean, I could also just say Shanahan, but like everybody played perfectly well. The defense great without Bosa. The offense played great without Purdy, without Kittle, with an above average, maybe even below average O line. You had other receivers out. Ricky was out. Ayuk still out. Juwan Jennings is out. And then Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne, who have a history together, go in, and it shows like, they haven't missed anything. They look like they've been playing ball with each other their whole life. They had a great game. The Niners upsetted the Rams, who are, potential Super Bowl favorites, or at least up there in the 3. But with that looking like the Niners are going to be coming in, and once they start getting more healthy, they're a very dangerous team. They could get active at the trade deadline, knowing that they are still competing at a high level due to injuries, even though, people were writing them off. I wrote them off a little bit. I didn't think they were going to drastically just fall, but I didn't think they were going to do this good. So
Yeah.
shout out to them. Shout out to everyone. And I'm going to give an honorable mention to Baker Mayfield and Emeka. I mean, they're also basically they're a winner as well, but I'm just going to give them, the defense of the Seattle Seahawks. There was a lot of injuries in the defensive back room. So I'm not going to put them exactly
Fair.
as a winner yet, but a very high honorable mention because they're just clicking. I mean, it's every week, so they're going to continue to do that. And Emeka is the offensive rookie of the year as of now. Baker's top 2, top 3 in MVP right now, so they're going to be doing good, and they're a team that you definitely can see in the playoffs. So now getting into my losers, I have the Raiders and Geno Smith. I mean, it's still
Yep.
just a circus over there. They need to change something. There's a whole lot of just what the heck is that over there. You have these star players like Crosby, Genty, Bowers has been banged up, but you got Geno Smith just making the wrong reads. Yeah, you may say he doesn't have a true number one, but it's like, you know, the things you have, you still shouldn't be 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And a lot of them,
Yeah.
like I've seen them, it's not even like, a receiver's making a bad play and then it leads to an interception. He is making bad reads. He is throwing into double or triple coverage. He's making the wrong decisions. And it's just nothing over there is going well. The entire coaching staff with Pete Carroll, nothing is going well over there. And it seems like they could be one and done when it comes to the coaching staff. Who knows? But it's really bad right now, and we'll
Yeah.
see
Oh
if
yeah.
they become sellers by the deadline. Another one is the Chargers. I mean, the offensive line is just getting consistently beat up. They're getting hurt, which obviously hurts Herbert. So the offense is underperforming because of it. Hampton's out now. You have these receivers that are, they're good receivers, but none of them are really stepping up. The defense is starting to kind of slip a little bit, even though they started the year off very, very strong. They did just make a trade for Odafe Owe, which will be a huge pickup for them. He's a very fast edge rusher, which they needed a pass rusher. Then when you get Khalil Mack back, everything will be, that the pass rush will be pretty good. The linebackers, hopefully they continue to do good. The corners need to continue to do good. They did have the safety they ended up putting in the trade package with the Ravens. He was kind of probably one of the faulty people on that defense to where now you get rid of that and now, the backup could come in and maybe it might be Tony Jefferson. It could be someone else to come up and make a bunch of plays. But at least they are acknowledging that they need help and they're doing it. But for now, they are a loser as, they just got beat up and a bunch of mental errors, fumbles, all this stuff, so losing to the Giants and now the Commanders, it's just they got to keep it up if they really want to compete in a very wide open
Yeah.
AFC. Uh, I got the Jets. I mean, because it's like the Cowboys defense, obviously, everyone knows that they're historically bad right now. But then the Jets made the Cowboys defense look like a top 15, a top 20 unit. They were doing really good. I mean, they held the Jets 30-3 until like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Then they obviously let up. So there were more points put up on there. A lot of, you know, stuff that really didn't matter. But they got to figure something out. They need a receiver too if they even want to try to compete. But being 0-5, you might be looking on to the next year. And if you're, the new head coach at Aaron Glenn, you're going to be thinking about your job already. So you're probably going to be starting to make moves. They'll definitely probably be sellers by the deadline. There's a lot of teams around the league that could be using pieces on their defense, specifically their edge rushers. So something to keep an eye out for that. But it doesn't seem like this season might be too far gone for them. My final loser though is the Cardinals. They seem to be like they're like good enough, but they just keep making these little mental errors, these dumb mistakes that then cost them every time at the end of a game. Like there's
Yeah.
no way the Cardinals should have lost to the Titans. The defense is looking legit. The offense has these good plays. Yes, their running game needs help, so they should definitely be buyers at the deadline for somebody like Alvin Kamara or Brees Hall. But they should do something. They need a running game. They're banged up. The O line's not doing so well, but Marvin Harrison Jr. needs to get more targets. He's picking it up again. Kyler Murray, he's not doing that bad, but he needs to step it up a bit too. In general, the coaching staff, there's a lot of things, but losing to the 0-4 Titans, getting them their first win, it's just there's a whole lot of
Yeah.
wrong
Oh
going there,
yeah.
and they keep losing these games. There's these close games they just keep losing, but they show promise, and then it's just false hope. So they're a big loser, and they're gonna definitely need to clean it up.
All right. So for my big winners, I have the 49ers. I mean, I was totally wrong on my prediction. I had Rams winning 31-3. I thought the Niners weren't even going to show up for anything. I thought they weren't even going to get a touchdown, obviously, and they completely proved me wrong. Like completely proved me wrong. It's embarrassing because, like I had said in the last episode, I already had Rams winning anyway. But especially with all these injuries, the Rams are certainly going to win, and they're going to blow
Yeah,
them out. Well, I was completely wrong. I even had said in the last episode it won't be a very good game because it's going to be a blowout. But the game went into overtime and was a pretty dang good game and the 49ers ended up winning. So, a little bit embarrassing there for me last week, but I mean, I don't think anyone expected that. I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but I should have probably paid more attention to Shanahan's system because Mac Jones, when he was playing uh, earlier this season, when Brock Purdy was out and he was still getting wins, and like I had said, he was still holding like glue, like holding this 49ers team together and was doing his part with Brock Purdy out. I should have probably put that more into effect and more into play than I actually did because he was phenomenal. Mac Jones had an amazing game. He went 33 for 49, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And that's your backup quarterback doing that, against the Rams defense, winning on the road. It's crazy. Like, never doubt Shanahan's system is what I kind of learned from that. And I knew
Yeah,
that
for
too.
sure.
I knew that too, but I now kind of hit me in the face because my prediction was way off, and I don't want to be like wrong anymore like that. But Kendrick Bourne went 10 for 142, and I mean they had everyone out. They had their running back out. They obviously had Purdy out. They had their receiving threats out. They had Bosa out. Unbelievable game. I mean, the 49ers, their defense, neither defense was very good in that game. They weren't obviously like horrible, like it was 26-23 in an overtime game. Their defense wasn't very good, but obviously the 49ers held up on their side, allowing 23 to the Rams when they were at home. But it's a huge win for the 49ers because they're 4-1, and it's kind of scary because it's like if this is what they can do, and then they've obviously proved it earlier this season already with Kittle and Purdy already being out some games and Bosa and still winning some games. But this also kind of being a test because this is the Rams on the road and they ended up winning that. So, but it's definitely scary because for all the other teams out there, because it's like if this is the 49ers team who's winning games like this, when their lineup is out. And I don't expect them to just go win like every single game now. I know they're going to have some losses here and there, but they're showing what they can do with their injuries and when practically their whole lineup is out. And that's just insane to me because then it's like imagine when you get these pieces back, they're going to be even better. Or,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, for a second in my mind, I was thinking, what if they just wanted to keep Mac Jones in? They probably won't. They're paying Purdy so much more money than they're paying Mac Jones. So Brock Purdy's getting paid. He needs to be starting. But Mac Jones has looked better than Brock Purdy has so far. So that is something weird. But either way, the 49ers are showing flashes even with their injuries, and they look like one of the best teams in the NFL right now, obviously. So that's just crazy to me how even with their injuries they can be doing that. And it is huge for the 49ers though, because they're 4-1. They obviously beat their divisional opponent in the Rams. So the Rams are now 3-2. The Seahawks lost this last week too. So there's that. And the Cardinals lost. So literally they won and every other team in their division lost. So they just catapulted themselves
Yeah,
even more in first place than they already were.
have a great path.
So that's a huge week for them. Next up, I have the Buccaneers and the Seahawks offenses as my big winners. As Jaden said, I kind of want to put a slight like asterisk maybe on the Buccaneers offense because Seahawks did have Julian Love out. They had Witherspoon out, and they did have Demarcus Lawrence out as well. And that's just what I know of. But either way, they still put up their stats that they were supposed to with injured Seahawks defense, and they even added more on top of that. Still, no one expected them to have the games they did. But Baker went 29 for 33, 379, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, like I said, even with the Seattle defense out, I mean, the way they're still putting up those stats is great. I still kind of do want to put an asterisk, but who really knows? But Emeko also went 7 for 163 and a touchdown. And then you got this on the Seahawks side for their offense. You had Darnold 28 for 34, 341, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. And that one interception, even then, it was like off the Buccaneers D lineman's helmet and kind of changed the direction of the ball.
Yeah,
So even then, it wasn't like 100% a interception on him. Is a little bit of bad luck, which is unfortunate. That's twice now the Seahawks have lost in kind of the weirdest ways. In week one against the Niners, they had their old lineman get bumped into Darnold by Bosa, and Darnold ended up fumbling it as he was throwing, and they lost the game there. And then he throws it, hits the lineman's helmet very slightly, and it ends up getting picked, and Buccaneers get a field goal out of it. Um, but JSN, he went 8 for 132 as well, and had a touchdown. But both of these offenses have proven they can hang with anyone in the league. I still have Seahawks very high, even though they do have 2 losses, and that's a shame. But they're both very high. I mean, their offense is so good. Their offense is so good and going under the radar even a little bit. And then for the Buccaneers, you got a Mecca who's running away with offensive rookie of the year as of right
Yeah, for
now,
sure.
clearly. And you got Baker Mayfield on that same team who is in the MVP race right now, who, could be first or second, but either way, he's going to be, you could ask anyone, he's top 3 in MVP voting right now. He would be. So the Buccaneers, just all their threats right now and getting all these wins, they're now 4-1, so good for them. Um, Sam Darnold, like I said, I'm just going to be praising the Buccaneers and Seahawks offenses here. Sam Darnold has one of the highest PFF grades in the NFL right now. He has the second highest completion percentage out of all the starting quarterbacks right now. Next big winner I have is the Broncos. I mean, beating the Eagles on the road. I had Eagles winning that game, but I mean, the way the Eagles offense has been struggling, I knew they were bound to lose eventually. Obviously, with a game where Hurts can't even complete a pass in the second half, a game where Hurts only throws 100 yards, and the
Yeah,
Eagles were still finding
it was
ways to
definitely
win,
bound to
but
happen.
it was definitely bound to happen. So, good for the Broncos. They kind of, gave a reality check to the Eagles. I think it's like the Eagles like first loss in like 20 games or whatever.
Yeah.
There was also an apparent missed PI call near the end of the game when the Eagles were on their game-winning drive. It was like the second to final play of the game. The Eagles are on their game-winning drive. I can't remember who Hurts was throwing to, but it was incomplete, and everyone's crying for a penalty. It wasn't a penalty. Broncos won the game. That's truly all what matters. I don't get how really anyone could find that a penalty, and if it was very slight. But
And it's
you
their
know,
fault for even letting the game come down to a penalty.
yeah,
You
they
let
choked the
14
14-point
points
lead.
up in the fourth quarter, and because your offense is so one dimensional, because whether it's a play
Exactly. Yep.
caller or it's because Jalen Hurts is only an above average passer at most,
Yep.
but you have these receivers and Saquon on your team, and you're underperforming on offense
Yep.
severely, and you get exposed for that, and you let a 14-point comeback, which then you guys are sore losers about, an apparent PI call. And it's like, you should have never even let the game get close enough to where it's off of a penalty. I see this time and
Exactly.
time again when people want to complain about a missed call, and that's the reason when they don't want to talk about what happened the last 3 and 3/4 of quarters before that penalty.
Yep.
They're the ones that let up 14 points in the fourth quarter. They got exposed for having a mediocre offense with the way, not even because of
Exactly.
the players. The players are great on there, but they're just underperforming. The offensive coordinator there sucks, and it's, you can't complain about a penalty when you let up 14 points before that happened.
Completely agree. We're unbiased on this podcast, but man, it's something I'm tired of hearing. So it's something that I'm going to like rant about. I'm going to rant whatever I feel like ranting about and talk about whatever we feel like talking about. But that was something I don't want to hear people complaining about that call or that game anymore. The Eagles had the game. Like I said, if it was a penalty, it was barely, I don't even think it was a penalty. The Eagles won their Super Bowl. They won 20 games in a row. And I know that, if there's a call, you call it. So I'm not like, justifying the other side in that way, if that makes sense. But, like, oh, the Eagles get away with stuff so they can go without a call. It's not what I'm saying. But it wasn't a penalty, but it's more of the fact that the Eagles win all these games and then they go to that penalty to be like, well, we should have won the game because of this penalty. It doesn't even make any sense because in our past episodes, we were already ranting about the Eagles getting away with false starts on their tush pushes
Yep.
almost every single play. So I feel like that should be it. I mean, besides all that we've already said about it, based on the tush pushes and false starts, I
It's the whole
mean,
reason they even won against the Chiefs.
exactly. Like I feel like there's no right to complain. I mean, it wasn't a penalty anyway, in my opinion, but I feel like there's especially no right to complain considering the way the Eagles' calls have been lately. Like I don't even know for how long, like just the last like season and then this season already. I saw in the fourth quarter the Eagles had already gotten away with a few penalties that weren't called. So I feel like there's no right to complain there, and that's just the way it is. That's just my opinion. But
Yeah, and your own player, when the receiver's down already, and then your linebacker comes in like an idiot and hits him down, and that gets them a
Yeah,
first and goal or a good first down. So you can't
exactly.
even blame it on the ref when you guys were making these many mistakes. And if they have good players like that, that team should be doing better, and there shouldn't even be talk of people underperforming when you have those so many superstars. And if they're wanting to do anything in the playoffs, they cannot play how they're playing. And every game they've played, I've never sat here and watched and been like, wow, they're just specifically so much better. Right now,
Yeah,
the only clear team is the Lions. So
yeah, oh
if
yeah.
they're wanting to do, they're going to have to open up that playbook. So whether it's a player issue mixed with coaching or if it's a lot of the coaching, they got to fix something. But besides that, the flag, even if it was a flag and it was missed, the game shouldn't have came down to that, and that's all there is about that.
Basically, and even if that is the definition of a flag nowadays by the NFL, even if that is supposed to be a flag, if NFL comes out and says that's supposed to be a flag, I feel like it shouldn't be. I feel like that is the right amount of contact that you can do as a defender. So even if by technicality it was supposed to, that is a play that I feel like should have been allowed. So I'm glad it wasn't called, but I feel like that contact should be allowed even if it technically isn't. But I feel like the right call was made. I feel like that wasn't a PI holding or anything. So, but next up I have is for my big winners, I have here we go. I have the Jaguars. I mean, beating the Chiefs. I mean, I know the Chiefs are obviously struggling, but I mean, come on with the Jaguars now. They're 4-1. They're, in the division obviously with the Colts, like I said last week, I believe. You know, with the Colts winning games and the Colts clearly performing better than we thought they were, you know, you better stay afloat with the Colts. Who would have who would have thought both teams, but obviously the Colts are getting more talked about. I feel like they're winning their games like more comfortably or whatever else it may be. But I mean, the Jaguars are up there, right there with them. I mean, they're 4-1. They just beat the Chiefs. They clutched up when they needed to. Their defense, Devin Lloyd got a huge pick six against Mahomes, 99 yards.
Yep.
They were down 14-0 to start the game. I just think it's a huge win in a division where you have the Colts and you need to stay afloat with them because Colts are obviously doing amazing. So huge win by the Jags. It was a clutch win. They came from behind. They're I said last week I was thinking I'm pretty sure they were like a legit team, but I mean now winning against the Chiefs, I have nothing else to say except they are a legit team. I'm starting to believe it just more and more with each week, and I feel like I have the right to think they are because I mean look at what they're doing. They're winning in every single way.
Yep.
So huge for the Jags. And then I have my shout outs here. I have shout out to Carson Wentz. He had a really good game against the Browns in London. They came away with the win as well. Obviously, the Vikings are third. They're still kind of falling behind with the line against the Lions and Packers. But with McCarthy out, everyone thought the Vikings were kind of screwed, and I thought they were at first, and then I kind of I had hope with Carson Wentz's first start, but Carson Wentz is keeping the Vikings afloat. I mean, like I said, they're still behind in their division, but they're keeping them afloat. They're not losing games, when everyone else is just taking a hold of the division. It's literally anyone's game right now. I know it's, only through week 5, but the fact that they're still hanging there steady with the backup of Carson Wentz, huge win for the Vikings. So shout out to them. And then shout out to the Cowboys. I mean, I know it was the Jets, but I mean, they did what they were supposed to against the Jets. And, it wasn't as much of a blowout as it was, but that's only because they were up like 33 to like 6 to start the fourth quarter. So like their defense could let up or whatever the score was. But Ferguson's in his groove now. He had 2 touchdowns. Dak looks like MVP to me. I mean, you could argue it with Baker, but I think Dak's the MVP. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks there is. I mean, check his PFF grade. He's usually number 1 or number 2 every single week.
Yeah.
Um, he's second in passing yards behind Matthew Stafford right now. Um, and then Javonte Williams. I mean, he's third in rushing yards right now. No one's talking about that. And I'm really tempted to put Cowboys as a big winner. Maybe not for the game, but just the way the players are playing right now. Because Javonte Williams is third in the league in rushing yards. He literally 33 behind Jonathan Taylor, who's the leader. So
I think he has like 20 less carries. He's at, yeah, like he has like 20 less carries
yeah,
than him, and then he has less than Cooks, but he has around the same. Like the stats are basically the same. While he, like I said, he has less touches than both of them.
exactly. So I mean, no one's talking about him, so I feel like I should at least talk about him and give him his flowers. He had 135 rushing yards last week. George Pickens leaves Pittsburgh and, immediately is a star and is doing amazing with Dallas. Even with CeeDee Lamb out, he's obviously stepping up even more than he already did and is getting the Cowboys some W's or ties, even with CeeDee Lamb out and all the other injuries they have. But, props to George Pickens as well. And then Ryan Flanoy, he went 6 for 144, and he, like Jane said, like he's clearly stepping it up. Everyone's stepping up. Like Dak is MVP in my opinion. George Pickens is one of the best receivers right now, especially in like jump ball catches.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Flanoy is now picking it up, and this is all with CeeDee Lamb out, and then with all the other injuries they have. So
Now
props to
imagine
the
the offense
Cowboys.
when they get healthy, like specifically like how teams
Exactly.
are looking right now without CeeDee Lamb, and then when you get CeeDee Lamb back, they're getting more people back. I saw there was an injury report that came out, and it showed Jonathan Mingo was a full participant in
Mm,
practice. So now you're getting another receiver who might play this week. I did hear that CeeDee Lamb will most likely be out this week, but he has a good chance of coming back next week. But imagine this offense when everybody's healthy. Like it's insane what this offense could
yeah.
be. And Dak already looking so good with so many people out. You know what to expect, honestly. And with everyone else coming back, and this team can hang with anybody specifically as long as that offense does what
Yeah.
they should. They could win almost. They could win any game they want to as long as their offense is clicking. They can hang with anybody in the league.
Exactly. So, time to give the Cowboys their flowers. Everyone is stepping up. They're clearly showing their flashes and what they can do. Even with an injured team, they're showing how good they can be. So, props to them. Now, moving on to the big losers. I only have one big loser this week. It's kind of hard to judge, what's a big loser and what's a big winner for the game. So I only have just one big loser, and that's just the Chargers. I mean, losing to the Giants. Obviously, we're talking about, it's Jackson Dart's first start, so there's a huge question mark about whether that loss was kind of like valid for them or not. Being on the road or whatever else it may be. But I mean, they just lost now at home to the Commanders, and the Commanders are a threat. The Commanders are a good team, but it was a game the Chargers should have won. Being at home, I mean, considering the Chargers were 3-0 before that Giants loss, they still looked like a really good team. But now this is back-to-back weeks now that they've struggled. It's cost them. They've lost two in a row. Like I said, it was a winnable game against the Commanders at home. So losing that game is a shame. There's nothing worse than losing a winnable game. It's just extremely frustrating because you can expect to lose against certain teams, but when you're losing against teams that you should be winning to, it really hurts and can kill the confidence of every player or the coaching staff or anyone. So I don't think the Chargers are totally screwed yet. Obviously, considering the AFC is literally open for anyone. Like, it's kind of crazy. I mean, you got the Bills 4-1, you got Patriots 3-2, you got, I mean, the AFC North
Steelers,
is crazy because you got the Steelers 3-1. They had their bye week, and then you got, they're in a division where you have Joe Burrow out, Lamar out, and then you got,
the Browns,
yeah. Then you got the Browns
a
kind of just
very,
sitting there,
yeah,
and
inexperienced
now
young
the Bengals have Joe
offense.
Flacco too. So then it's just like, what's going on
Yeah,
there? But and then the Jaguars and Colts, like clearly, like you said, like this might be one of those years. Like what was it, 2017, 2018,
yeah,
and you got Bortles and you got Foles and Keenum and Brady, and it's like you got the main guy, and then you got like all these surprising contenders. It's
yeah,
clearly on pace for one of those years. I'm very excited to see what it'll look like. The AFC is very
yeah.
sketchy and crazy right now, but it's not hurting the Chargers yet. Like I said, their division is still,
They have
you
to fix
know,
that O line.
they do have to fix that O line though. I mean, the Chiefs did lose, so it didn't really burn the Chargers, obviously, but they did have the Broncos did win though
Yep.
for sure. So watch out for them because Broncos are now second in the division. But the Chargers do got to figure something out quick. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
not burning them yet. They're still number one in the division in an AFC that's
And
literally up
been
for
on IR.
grabs. But yeah, it's not the Chargers team that was started the first 3 games, being 3
Yep.
and 0. It's clearly not the Chargers that started this season, and it's crazy how they had this much of a drop off. I have some of the stats here. I mean, they allowed 5 sacks against the Commanders, and then they had 10 penalties, um, with 14 penalties the previous week. So they had 10 this last week. They had 14 the previous week, both in their losses. That's 24 combined penalties. And their O line is kind of just sad now. Their defense took a little bit of a step back. The Chargers got to fix their O line. They got to fix their defense a little bit. They just got to figure something out and make some moves, like they did. They got to figure something out. So hopefully their trade works out for them. Like I said, it's not burning the Chargers yet, but they do got to fix some things before it gets worse because they're clearly, on a path that they don't want to be going down.
So to start off with my Thursday night football predictions, I have the Eagles beating the Giants 27-17. The Giants' defense is good, specifically their D line. Their secondary is inconsistent at times, but with how the Eagles' offense has been struggling, I think that's why it's going to be somewhat close. But knowing the Eagles, they're the better team all around, better coaching staff. They will pull away with it, but there will be sometimes the Giants makes a couple plays here and there. The Eagles' defense is also pretty inconsistent, especially when it comes to their secondary. Jackson Dart might have a couple plays here and there that starts giving the Eagles a bit of a we might lose this thing, but I think the Eagles do pull away with it. But I do think it is a close game for most of the time, and it's going to raise a lot of questions, and not so much of a good way for the Eagles after the game is done.
Yeah, for my predictions, like Jane said, I actually have Eagles 27, Giants 17 as well. I think overall, as much as I've trashed on the Eagles, they are the better team compared to the Giants. I mean, yeah, the Eagles are the better team. Their offense is struggling, obviously, but the Giants are at home, but you still got a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart going against this Eagles team who, even though the Eagles might be underperforming, well, they are underperforming, but it's a Giants team that the Eagles can be underperforming, but I still think they're going to come away with the W. I mean, I have some of the stats here. The Eagles are 30th in total yards on offense. They're 31st in passing yards per game. They're 25th in rushing yards per game. It's kind of sad. It's crazy because you still have Saquon back there. I had him winning Offensive Player of the Year. That's clearly not going to happen anymore. Um, but their offense is clearly not clicking like it was last year. It's much more depressing. It's sad, but the Giants, they showed some flashes. Obviously, they beat the Chargers in Jackson Dart's first start. Um, but I'd like to more put the blame on that game being the Chargers lost that game more than the Giants won that game. And then obviously this last week, the Giants losing to the Saints,
They
and
started off good and they started shooting
it
themselves in
started
the foot.
exactly. It started off pretty good, and the Saints kind of ran away with it a little bit. Jackson Dart had 2 interceptions. He also had a fumble. Um, but even with the Eagles' offense taking a step back, they are the better team. I feel like you're just gonna have Jackson Dart. It's his third start, so he should be obviously much more comfortable and less nervous than a week 1 and a week 2 start. Obviously, he may be at home, but the Eagles are still gonna run away with it, like you said, because the Eagles' offense is struggling. You think it's gonna be a close game. I have the same reason. I think it's gonna be a close game as well, 27-17. But I just think Jackson Dart is gonna struggle. I don't think he's going to be doing too good. He's still kind of getting used to stuff. So, I mean, it's still the Eagles. So I got them pulling away.
All right, thank you guys for watching. If you guys like today's, episode, please check out the ones we have in the past. Please like and subscribe. Share this with anybody you can. Check out our Instagram. We post, weekly about our picks for the upcoming week of football. We might post other things if we have anything surprising coming out. If we have any extra videos, if we decide to post twice a week. That is Y2K Sports Talk on Instagram. So follow us there. Follow us here. Like I said, if you continue to like what we post, please continue to watch our videos, like the videos, and we hope you enjoy.